Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Scott Sports 101. We're going to talk some Browns and NFL draft stuff involving the Browns. We're going to talk Cavs. We're going to talk trial. We're going to talk about the NCAA men's and women's finals. We're going to talk about all that. But first, here is today's Scott Sports 101 trivia question. Who was the first Cleveland Indian to hit 50 home runs in a season? I will have the answer later in the podcast. Well, we're going to do some Browns news first. The Cleveland Browns fans should rejoice after Adam Schefter sent the NFL world into madness a few days ago when he tweeted the report about how the San Francisco 49ers traded up from pick number 12 in the 2021 NFL Draft with the Miami Dolphins to number 3 overall. It seemed like before people could ever register that trade, the Miami Dolphins traded back up to number 6 to the number 6 overall. With the Philadelphia Eagles. While all of that is extremely exciting, Browns fans honestly couldn't care less about what those teams are doing. Cleveland is fresh off a wild card weekend playoff win and their best season ever, and looking to go even further and farther next year. That means the Browns aren't worried what quarterback is going to save the franchise in this year's draft. So they aren't trying to position themselves for a signal caller. Instead, Andrew Berry and company are praying that some top 10 talent talent other than a QB, falls to them at pick number 26 overall in the first round. That can help fuel their hopeful Super Bowl run in 2021. And after Friday's trades, that fuel may have dropped below $2 per gallon. And that's to say the least on that. You don't trade up to 3rd overall to draft a long snapper. And the 49ers are taking a quarterback, no matter what they say. And it's clear the New York Jets are taking a quarterback at number 2. And if they don't, whoever wants the next best quarterback will have to trade up to number 2 with the Jets. Now, when it's all said and done, it's very likely that 4 quarterbacks will be taken in the top 4 picks. Those quarterbacks will most likely be Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance. But what does this have to do with the Browns? With all of the quarterbacks going that early, teams who still would like to have a quarterback like Mac Jones will need to trade up to secure him. Again, the Browns don't need a quarterback. There are several great offensive tackles projected in the first round this year. The Browns don't need any offensive tackles. There are at least 3 wide receivers going to be taken. There are at least 3 wide receivers going to be taken, before the Browns pick at number 26. The Browns aren't looking for any receivers. Now, putting all this together says that there's a lot of defensive talent that's going to be pushed down the board to Cleveland. A defensive player who is a top prospect could be there for the Browns at 26. All of those offensive players are going to be selected before they're on the clock. Andrew Berry has done a great job at filling holes in the defense, though free agency, he's through free agency, excuse me. So he is going himself to freedom, the freedom, excuse me. He is giving himself, excuse me. So he is giving himself the freedom to select the best player available at 26. He doesn't have to pick a player to fill a hole on the roster. And that is absolutely true. Cleveland can pick at the 4th or 5th best receiver for depth, or a top 10 defensive player could slide all the way down to them because of the trading and need for offensive players in the top 12 of this year's draft. Some teams may have traded up for their franchise quarterback on Friday, but the Browns may have lucked into a defensive stud who can help make their Super Bowl run a little more feasible. Now, here are 3 deep threats for the Browns in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds. Now, the Cleveland Browns have the most expensive wide receiving core in the NFL, yet there are still so many questions. The Browns already have Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, and Donovan Peoples-Jones locked up for the 2021 season. So why look for another receiver? There are 2 answers to that question. One, Beckham has continued to have injury issues, and as the only receiver on the roster with elite speed and the ability to get open in man-to-man coverage. The Browns needs to have a backup option. Landry and Higgins have been great picks over the last few seasons, but they are both zone coverage guys with average NFL speed. Now, the second reason the Browns will be in the market for a receiver this first time since 1999, the roster is good enough to plan ahead. Now, while they can afford to pay Beckham and Landry $15 million each in 2021, that won't be the case down the road with deals due to Baker Mayfield and Denzel Ward. There is a very chance the team must move on from one after this season. Now, the Browns are finally in a situation where they can draft a guy and only play him if he is ready. This will give the player a full year to develop and adapt to the NFL speed, and he may get his feet wet with some snaps on special teams. Because of the depth in the wide receiver class in 2021, the Browns will certainly have an interest in the future. And while I think they focus on defense in round 1, here are 3 potential deep threat targets at wide receiver in rounds 2, 3, and 4 of the 2021 NFL Draft. And here they are. The big threat for the 4th round, Tyler Wallace of Oklahoma State. Of these 3 targets, none have done more active collegiate level than Tyler Wallace from Oklahoma State. The wide receiver had a career of 205 catches, 3,424 yards, and 25 touchdowns, which only trails Devontae Smith in this class of total production. Wallace is a former track star who would bring the deep threat mentality the Browns need. At 5 foot 11 inches, 193 pounds, Wallace is underrated, but he has tremendous leaping abilities and ball skills, which make him an above 50-50 ball receiver. Wallace's route tree is currently limited, but with time and effort, it is something that can be worked on. Wallace has the hunger to be an NFL receiver, which will make him fight for even harder. Being undersized has always put a chip on his shoulder, and he uses that to his advantage. Drafting a Big 12 wide receiver is difficult as well because they often don't face NFL caliber talent or tight man coverage. There is a belief Wallace could struggle at the next level with physical corners. Wallace isn't a guy that will come in and be a day starter, a one-day starter, but with a year to develop, he is certainly worth the risk in the 4th round and could add some production right away as a deep threat in 2021. Now, the deep threat for round 3 is Elijah Moore of Ole Miss. Another undersized receiver in 2011 and in 2021 class, is Elijah Moore from Ole Miss. While Moore has had a strong collegiate career, he finished the 2020 season on fire with 13 catches, 200 yards in the final 3 games. At 5'9", 184 pounds, Moore will never be an outside receiving threat, but he can certainly add production for a team at the slot position. Moore has the speed to get vertical, and has continued to improve his route tree over the last few seasons, even though it still needs to develop at the next level. Not only would Moore have a stronger impact in 2021 than Wallace, but he would also be able to compete for time on special teams. Although JoJo Nathan, was brought back as the return specialist, the Browns would likely be interested in filling that spot with someone who also contributes on offense. Moore's biggest downfalls are short catch radius, lack of breaking tackles, and of course his size. While they are a concern, they are all things that he can overcome. Some scouts have shared that Moore could be the next Steve Smith. With the Browns roster already being loaded with talent, round 3 would be ideal to take the plunge for a wide receiver. Remember, the Browns have 2 picks in the round and could easily move up as well if they had their eyes set on a guy like Moore, or who could go earlier in the round. And for round 2, the third deep threat, which is for round 2. And I will give you that one. I'm going to take a break. This is going to turn into a 2-part podcast. I'm going to download this first part, and I will be right back once I have downloaded it for the second half. So stay with us. We'll be right back.